Welcome to the internet. Have a look around. Anything that brain of yours can think of can be found. We've got mountains of content, some better, some worse. If none of it's of interest to you, you'd be the first. Welcome to the internet. Come and take a seat. Would you like to see the news or any famous women's feet? There's no need to panic. This isn't a test. Just nod or shake your head and we'll do the rest. Welcome to the internet. What would you prefer? Would you like to fight for civil rights or tweet a racial slur? Be happy, be horny, be bursting with rage. We got a million different ways to engage. Welcome to the internet. Put your cares aside. Here's a tip for straining pasta. Here's a 9-year-old who died. We got movies and doctors and fantasy sports and a bunch of colored pencil drawings of all the different characters in Harry Potter fucking each other. Welcome to the internet. Hold on to your socks, cause a random guy just kindly sent you photos of his cock. They are grainy and off-putting. He just sent you more. Don't act surprised, you know you like it, you whore. See a man beheaded, get offended, see a shrink. Show us pictures of your children, tell us every thought you think. Start a rumor, buy a broomer, send a death threat to a boomer, or DM a girl and groomer, do a zoomer, find a tumor in your here's a healthy breakfast option. You should kill your mom. Here's why women never fuck you. Here's how you can build a bomb. Which Power Ranger are you? Take this quirky quiz. Obama sent the immigrants to vaccinate your kids. Could I interest you in everything, all of the time? A little bit of everything, all of the time. Apathy's a tragedy and boredom is a crime. Anything and everything, all of the time. Could I interest you in everything, all of the time? A little bit of everything, all of the time. Apathy's a tragedy and boredom is a crime. Anything and everything, all of the time.
Okay, are you ready?
Sure.
Okay.
Got my UNT work shirt on.
You sure do. Look at that. Is that from back in the day?
It is official.
So just for context, you and I have known each other since 93, 94-ish. And we were
Maybe a hair before, but
maybe a hair before.
Bad, just from the art building.
Yeah.
In passing, we
were in Good Bad Art Collective together for like about 3.5 years, probably then before I got out after I graduated and got a full-time job. And then but you were still a member for a long time and then moved up to New York and y'all opened the Brooklyn wing of Good Bad.
Quite a harrowing experience.
I've heard the tales. So I've heard some of the tales. I'm sure there's plenty that I haven't heard. So you and I saw each other at John Freeman's memorial.
Yeah.
And by the end of that night, we were talking about you recording one of these. And you already just like had so many ideas. And then we were texting and you had so many ideas. And even like as we were preparing for today, you like had more ideas, and which I love. Did you have any kind of burning, pressing thing that was top of the list?
I mean, despite the current ennui in America.
Since you just brought it up, and this is very timely, since you're in the DC area, what the hell? Like, you want to give your take on what's going on right now?
It's just a dog and pony show inside the middle of downtown DC. You know, they're starting to fool around with some checkpoints. It's not going over well with the locals. The whole concept of papers, please is ludicrous. It could be an entire thing about that. But my entire neighborhood, all work for the federal government. All my neighbors, you know, various people are having support groups for people that are laid off. Some people in the military and the State Department are getting commissions. You know, every couple of years they have a new commission. So several people have moved away because they've had commissions. You know, whether they moved across the country, whether it's going to last 6 months or the 3 years it's supposed to, who knows? You know, that's incredibly stressful. And it's, you know, I feel like I've been through like repeated traumas that have just prepared me for other things. That's my biggest takeaway, is that everything that I've lived through, and I should be dead more than once, has just prepared me for the next thing. And the entire philosophy of life in the last few years is you have to enjoy the tiny sliver of peaceful good times before the bad things happen. Bad things happening are not a punishment for taking your dog for a walk in the park. taking a day off or whatever simple things you can do, because when it's relentless, it actually feels bad to feel good for a second.
It does. Yeah,
Because then
there's a
you're just
lot
like,
of
well,
guilt.
okay, tomorrow, the Hoover Dam's going to be removed and it's going
Yeah.
to flood half of everyone I know downstream. Just that could just be the news tomorrow.
It's very like it's not necessarily like get in your joy and enjoyment now while you can, because like I feel like it's got to be concurrent, and we have to also leave room for like the idea that this is something we're moving through. And on the other side of it, like there's room for that stuff to expand. And in order for it to do so, we actually have to be planting the seeds and creating it and maintaining our capacity to feel those things.
And at the same time, my friends that are paid to be professionally creative during conservative times in the government, people's joy in spending on art vanishes to zero, whether that be a bronze sculpture or a tattoo.
Yeah, spending on it, certainly, because it in a capitalist world, it's a luxury item. But I think for a lot of people, I mean, for myself personally and other people that I've talked to through this project and otherwise, like it's not a luxury. It's like an essential part of being a human being to
Right.
to be able to be creative and do your thing, and then also to engage with stuff other people have done. And I mean, I've like 2021 feels like a very long time ago, like another weird chapter that we all lived through together. But like, I feel like just like when we were so isolated, like looking at art that other artists were creating during that time just on Instagram was like one of the things that really like was medicinal for me, and also like inspiring for me to do my own stuff.
Well, and that's, if you want to get into the topic of middle-aged artists, that's probably one of the biggest things to make you do art, is just saying, I can do this now. I can put A tasks aside and B tasks aside because I need to do this for me, because I know I'll feel better if I get into my flow state.
Yeah.
And enjoy. I'll be better tomorrow and survive tomorrow if I do that today. Making yourself do that is actually difficult. And you've inspired me because of your continuous workings and just trying stuff.
Well, thanks, Tim.
That's good to be.
I mean, I've had other people serve that role for me, so I think it's just like something that we all kind of do for each other.
My mentor Jose, he a long time ago, he instilled in us that everything you do is art, and everything you think about, whether you are trying or not, you're thinking about it as an artist, and you should embrace it, not try to pretend, I'll make this nice and pleasing to me when I get around to it. Well, you never get around to it.
Yeah.
So you really have to go push it yourself. I have a bunch of artwork I still need to hang up in my house, but I'm like so motivated to do it after going to several memorials in the space of 6 months. Just because it was like the one fun thing for me. I'm not going to wait any longer. I'm not going to put it off any longer. It's not my birthday. It's not Christmas. You just have to do it. Like I'm motivated to do it and force myself to do it.
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, it's like it seems a little dark, but it's also like bringing your attention back to like just living and not putting things off for tomorrow. And that's like a message that is driven home a lot more for us when we start. I mean, I just heard this morning, another friend of mine passed away. It's just like, we're just at that age, like where that's starting to happen.
It's important to me to mention Bill Ivy's passing.
Yeah. I was going to ask you.
Messed me up.
Yeah.
First closest hard gut punch.
Yeah.
I didn't care about music. I didn't care about art. I didn't ride my motorcycle. I didn't do any of the things that make me a nice person to be around and happy person.
Yeah.
You can't beat yourself up to the exclusion of other people, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's the classic thing about, jealousy and anger or whatever. That's you drinking poison thinking the other person is going to die.
Right.
And just helpful things like that. I've had grudges and problems with people and been ripped off, and I've just let it all go because I just look at it in perspective of like, if I have to let that go to never think about it again and never bother it again, it's way worth it. It's worth more than the trouble. It's, I can't be bothered anymore.
Yeah.
Not in the way that all problems solve themselves if you ignore them long enough.
Yeah.
Way you get a result you don't want.
Right.
So
but it's like it's your time.
Yeah.
And so do you want to spend your time feeling like crap because of this thing that happened? Like I'm not a proponent of like squash down or deny your feelings or like everything is love and light. It's just like things get messy and people have disagreements and you experience them and you feel all the stuff as needed. But then once you have moved through it, then you move forward, rather than just like dwell on it, and you address it with those people or you don't. And then if that's your choice, and if you don't, then you accept that you made that choice and you again move forward. So I feel like
these are hard-won things that take 10 years longer than you think they should to figure out. One of my biggest points was I know for a fact that someone has looked me in the eye and told me exactly what I needed to hear at the time.
Yeah.
But because of the circumstances, I was unable to receive the transmission.
Yeah.
Whatever words were said at me didn't mean to me what they meant to the mentor or person farther along or friendly advice friend.
Yeah.
Not ignoring it, not purposely doing the opposite.
Yeah.
It's like they're speaking from some experience that I'm like, okay, well, I'm still working on step one of that.
Right.
It's good to have heard it because you'll remember it later. But it's just like there's kind of no magical cheat code.
No.
To solve all the problems.
I think we all we're creatures that learn experientially, so you can like be exposed to like all kinds of words of wisdom and other people's life lessons. But if you're, like you said, if you're not there, they're either just going to bounce off of you or you're just not going to be able to really put them into practice yet. Yeah. And that's fine. That's what it's all about. I think I was laughing because, I feel like there was a whole lot of drama back when we were doing our thing in Denton, and I was definitely involved in plenty of that. So it's just like it's so nice to have been reconnecting with everybody lately, and not just because of John. That was a really big catalyst for people reconnecting, but just like it's easier with technology for one thing, and then I've tried to make more of an effort to do that. So it's just really like it's just been really nice to like all those little things, that you were talking about earlier, like you can let those things eat at you or not. Like even when you think they're not, there's still sometimes like a little thing, like a little thing poking at you, and you don't even really realize it until you have that interaction with that person again, and you both have like aren't totally in a different place. Like you're still the same people, but all that shit is just old shit that doesn't matter. So
the classic comedy is tragedy plus time.
Yeah.
But
so tell me
the ability to let someone be in their own space, or I'm not going to say lane, that's dumb.
Yeah.
But like, Will would make fun of me endlessly for being into juxtapose art.
Yeah.
And that was like, oh, it's,
Look at my juxtaposed t-shirt I wore
There you
today.
go.
Yeah.
Hot rods and Robert
Yeah.
Williams and whatever. Tattoos, stupid, you know. And I'm like, okay, well, what's the difference between that and like worshiping Matthew Barney or something?
Right.
You know, it goes from like too serious to it becomes laughable eventually.
Tell me a story about Bill. I wanted to ask you about that because I mean he was always around and I was around him plenty and I was always very appreciative of him because I felt like he was always really nice to me. Like even when I wasn't always the most popular person out there, he like was always really nice to me. And but we never like hung out or anything. And so I don't have a lot of my own Bill stories. And I was hoping that you might share a good one.
Sure. We took a long motorcycle ride together from Denton to Laramie, Wyoming, and stopped in Carbondale and stayed at a friend's house, which is where I was last week. And his wife remembered me and remembered Bill and told us stories about when we were there 24 years ago that we forgot. You know, hiking up a canyon by the Aspen airport trying to find the plane crash with skeletons in it. You know, that sounds like something we would do.
Yeah, it does.
We canoed the Roaring Fork River and we never flipped. Crazy times in New York, Bill having diabetic reactions and not knowing whether he needs a shot of insulin or a jelly donut.
Yeah.
Both, you know, there's some harrowing times, but also great times. So I have his motorcycle now.
Uh-huh.
Bill was very outwardly super gruff, but super nice to you if he liked you.
Yeah.
That's a little secret thing that you knew. Like most people never saw that side of him.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, half of it's self-defense of like, leave me alone.
Mm-hmm.
And then, oh, I get to know you. You know, he didn't like me at first.
Yeah.
I was just some guy invading the San Antonio crew.
Right.
You know, and then got into motorcycles and dogs, and he was a great friend throughout the years. And I'm glad I got to spend the time with him that I did. Some could say we wasted some time together, but when you go see your friend's band play, you don't think fast forward 25 years later you're going to go to memorials for 2 out of the 5 people in the band.
Right. Yeah, I mean, what is, I mean, honestly, if I consider like the things in my life that I've done that I now looking back think of as wasted time, it's like job bullshit and stuff like that. It's not going to see my friends' bands or like traveling or having fun, you know.
I had a friend from Dallas was just visiting here.
Yeah.
We used to work together, and I was like, I wish to God that I never had that job, but I earned the money in a couple of years to move to New York, and I wasn't going to New York without that money.
Yeah.
Which now I look back at it and like completely laugh because it was like skin of my teeth. But
right,
good friends in New York, including Bill, were there to welcome me. I mean, I worked with him at Alloy with Will and Cornmo, but he was a rock soldier, a motorcycle soldier, a good friend, reliable person. And we played in the Misfits cover band together with John Freeman. And so that's actually another band that has at least 2 to 3 members are no longer with us.
Yeah.
But the amount of fun I had playing in a Misfits cover band was unruly.
Yeah.
And then we did the Smiths Fits, which was Smiths songs in the Morrissey singing, but sounds like the Misfits.
Right.
And Misfits songs sung like Morrissey songs.
Yeah.
That's incredibly hard. But if you look on the internet, there's 2 bands right now.
Oh, really?
Touring professionally doing that.
That's so funny.
Now,
man.
Were we the first people ever to do that? Probably not. Probably some kid in a garage in Venice did it at the same time. But there's a lot of parallel thinking. That's why I can't begrudge.
Sometimes ideas are so great that many people have them at once.
Yes.
But
it takes a certain psycho to do it.
Yeah.
And do it till you're good at it. And then keep doing it and then take it on the road.
Right. So earlier you said something about being the age that we are and like it's sort of altering the approach to making art and just like doing whatever the hell you want. And that was something that you had talked about in some of our texts that we had exchanged too, of just like, you know, back in art school days, you didn't really feel like that was something that was like really open to you.
I just
If,
didn't, I
am
didn't
I
have the language to justify my work.
okay?
I feel
But
like
see, the fact that you feel like you had to justify
in
your work.
critiques, you know,
Yeah.
if you're going to make something that's not a still life or an abstract expressionist painting or a gendered nude, you have to explain it. Anyway, I was a bad bullshitter
Okay.
because I knew what I wanted to say, but I couldn't articulate it, you know.
And you feel like that. Do you still feel like that you have to do that now? Like,
No, because I have no audience, but I would just explain
yeah.
it to a friend. I've definitely had some incorporations of Mexican culture and Asian culture in my artwork because I had just traveled there. I was just learning about it and there was no internet. And I was like, I've loved Lucha Libre since I was a small child and found comic books in the trash in Spanish of Mexican wrestlers. And I've liked Ultraman since I was a child and I saw it on WGN when my grandparents got cable because I never had cable. And so then I followed it to its extension of visiting friends, of visiting uh, artists in Asia that did, you know, like the Indonesian style shadow puppets. There's a tradition of that in Taiwan. And so that got me into doing like cutout stuff and more collage stuff, and then building in shaped structures and things that transform. Was all from those experiences and liking artwork that was more than just a painting on the wall. I always wanted to go more, and being in good bad and having certain teachers really encouraged me to like push the limits. Basically what I was to the very beginning point was the time in art school was just purely reactionary. I have a watercolor due, nature, go. I got 2 weeks. Well, a week of that is working and band practice and other classes. So I have less than 40 hours to figure this out, acquire the materials, pay for the materials, and bang it out.
Right.
And so I was always looking at things in like this problem solving reactionary way, not like what could I imagine I could do.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, that's why I was a little miffed about some people's conceptual art, because you're like, yeah, I can say I can do anything. I can rudimentarily mock up anything in Photoshop and say I am gonna do this. It doesn't mean I'm gonna
Uh-huh.
do it, but it's a fun thought exercise. But it's, you know, I don't know. That just wasn't me at the time. But given the opportunity to do that, like say for the Nasher show, to be able to think that broadly and actually know I had money to do it, you still almost self-censor because you're like, well, if I put my name, I have to do this.
Talk about the Nasher show, because
Yeah,
obviously I
it's
wasn't
Nasher,
involved.
2012. It's Nasher,
Okay.
and I think something like that. Earlier in the year, we had a DMA show, and that was EFF playing in the sculpture garden of DMA. One of the most fun things I've ever done in my entire life. They just let us run amok, and it's unbelievably insane. There's been other bands that have played the Dallas Museum of Art, but from my knowledge, Electric Freestyle Fantasy, post Bill's death, unfortunately, but we made it a memorial show because that was a huge debate among the members.
Yeah.
And Steve Barnett, you know, stood up and played drums for Bill from Baboon and many other bands. And so we're like, okay, we're gonna blow it out and do it. And that was insanely fun. And then the bigger project where we were given a budget and a commission for the Nasher got
Right.
stressful real fast. I didn't live in Dallas at the time, and so I was trying to like WebEx in. It's really difficult in a larger group. You have to give people time to talk. You have to consider everything, and it just, if anything goes kind of wrong, it doesn't work as a remote meeting.
Right.
You know, I had no skin in the game. I didn't live there. I'm not a practicing professionally paid artist. I do whatever I want whenever I want. Because to me, the back end killed any desire to be a producing artist for money. Just as I learned the hard way in college, that's the reality of you got to be a salesman, a schemer, coder, this, that, and the other thing. You got to show up. You got to go to the right biennials. It's a full-time job just to make yourself look like you're an artist. I have to work all day. And basically it's, if I can't have any sense of pride in my work, like a job well done, whether it's work or art, I have zero interest in doing it. It doesn't mean I haven't had to out of necessity, but that takes all the joy out. And that's
so you don't feel like that Nasher project that you really were a contributor other than just being part of the group? Is that that's what I'm hearing? Or
well, I wasn't a part of the breakdown between camps, so to speak. Myself and Chris Weber came in like to work on something.
Yeah.
Both at the point that we could take a little time off to do this.
Yeah.
We were roommates for the first time ever for 6 weeks in a little tiny pied-a-terre back room over somebody's garage and by Love Field. We just went to work all day, every day. And whether that was having a meeting with building security or hauling giant styrofoam heads or escorting Nancy Nasher through our exhibit, which I did myself personally, it was a lot of like serious go time after a lot of kind of false starts and hemming and hawing and people committing and not committing. And basically my whole idea was I'll do whatever I can to make this work. But if someone's not on board, I don't have time for that. I can't. I'll help anyone do anything. Heart's not in it. I can't make their heart into it. And I don't want to fight. I don't want an argument. I don't want resentment. And I was like, I don't live here. Do whatever you want. I'll just help. It's a free ticket to you get all the glory. I get on a plane the day this is over and I'm gone. You can dine out on this for 10 years in Dallas if you were a part of it. Probably. I mean, it's the first citywide public art exhibition in American history. I can get over quibbles about a certain idea or not, but it's as with family or old associates or old band members, familiarity must breed contempt, and old wounds can be reopened. Really sad.
I mean, we don't have to air any dirty laundry.
No, but I wasn't trying to make any of that happen, and it was happening in front of me, and I couldn't stop it or do anything about it.
Yeah. I feel like, 2012, that was, I remember when it first started and it kind of was like being put out there to the former members, like, this is a thing that's happening. Do you want to be involved? And I chose very deliberately to sit it out because I felt like it was too soon for me, and also like the stuff that we talked about at the beginning of this conversation where everybody's like grown and like, like we're all wiser, hopefully, and all that stuff's like water under the bridge. But at that point, we weren't there yet. Like we were still going through it. And for me personally, it was still very, very soon after Adam and I split. And that just wasn't going to be a good idea, So, and that's like, like, again, like that, like there's no need to like air any sort of dirty laundry, and like I'm not like begrudging anyone. I'm just saying that like the dynamics at the time for me were not going to be conducive to like working with that group of people, and I made that choice to sit it out, and it really bummed me out that I felt like I needed to do that. But I do still feel like it was the the right choice for
I
me.
believe a tremendous amount of the documentation has tried to accredit everyone that got good, bad to the point that anybody would even ask
Yeah.
us, a collective we,
Yeah.
do something.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happened. Because I was like, who is lobbying for that? I mean, imagine us the last name in a hat of all these people like finding out the rules and finding out what it is, and then, and then like respectfully declining to participate,
Right.
I don't know what the magic hook was. Jed was an amazing dude that was kind of like our manager. He was
Okay.
the main emissary, basically.
So can you describe just again, because I wasn't involved and I didn't even go see it, like what was the, if you were going to see this theme
Sure.
that Good Bad created at the Nasher, what was that experience
I'll
like?
give you a preamble and then the answer.
All right. I just have to apologize here. I just got a terrible headache before this thing started. I'm going to do this the best I can, so please just stay with me. I want to tell you a little story before I get to my main topic.
We were assisted by certain people like Will's nephew, Chuck, videographer extraordinaire, brought in his friends, helped us. Jason Ramirez from the Texas Theater. People helped us in things we didn't know how to do: professional video, color correcting, room tone, lighting. It was the first time we were able to pull in willing outside professional participants that made it over the top great. So let me try to explain the Nasher just as short as possible.
Okay.
Everybody knows the TV show Dallas.
Everybody of a certain age now.
Certain age,
will say that.
But
my kids are like, what?
But internationally, it was big.
Yeah.
Like it was big in Sweden. My Swedish friends knew that. They showed a building in downtown Dallas at the beginning of it that was the Ewing Oil Building. It's really Bryan Tower. But we made an actual television show in the building that's made famous for a television show that basically put Dallas on the map. That's the shortest possible way to describe it.
Yeah.
But it involved the hero's journey, memory, loss, life, death, tragedy of human existence, an actual broadcast television program with a 1-800 number you could call that we tried to have advertised for everyone to see if possible. We had a one-night event for the audience to participate in. We cut it and edited the footage of that, made the commercial, and then had in the space an open exhibition of footage of the one-night event displayed interestingly with docents and visiting hours afterward. But if you wanted to see the television show, you had to catch it, at 3 a.m. on WFAA. But it was broadcast in New York, Los Angeles, Dallas, Chicago. We don't know how many people saw it. More people wanted to participate in the one-night event than we could run through in the time allotted. That was unintentional. We weren't trying to make it exclusive, but some people were upset about that. Some people are upset you had to DVR the show to actually see it, but there's a nice book in the Library of Congress that Nasher made, the Nasher 10 we're in, and it thanks many people involved in Good Bad over the years. And if that's the last thing that is ever associated with Good Bad, depending on the amount of digital archives we ever get up, that pulls a thread of a million things leading back to hot summer nights in '92 in Denton, Texas, in a janitorial supply building. Go into vast detail about the early use of Raspberry Pis to present a plexiglass sarcophagus with a angular mapped projection inside of it to produce perfect snow static on all sides. 12-foot high end of the night television color bar off the air, curtains that created a film studio, an actor that was a spitting image of another famous actor. He may or may not be the progeny of that person. I was a prop master as well as many other things. There were some television interviews. They cut out my part probably because I blabbed about things that was my experience as opposed to someone else's experience. Because, people, as you know, can go participate in the same event and come away with just absolutely completely perspective from it.
Right. It's the nature of being alive.
My summation of Good Bad was it was a space that was paid for by monthly rent from participants. Some people made more art than others. Some people were all about music. We had benefits. Venues helped us. Bands donated to us. We always tried to provide something entertaining in return. But it allowed you to have a third space to literally do anything you wanted as long as you mostly cleaned it up. It's incredibly freeing for an artist. You could show up on Wednesday and paint all day by yourself and no one's there. Or you could have a rock show at 8 a.m. on Wednesday morning that
So
you
I
only
have
tell 3 friends about.
I have this binder. I've showed it off in a couple of other of these, but it's got like it's got all like the flyers and stuff from the time that I was involved. And let me find it real quick. There was the infamous Popo y Lupe show.
Yes.
Where Popo y Lupe brought their lawyers because they thought that they had been told that we were stealing their name. We were just using it for the title of an art exhibit. And I was the one who ended up having to speak to the lawyers, which was, I'm still not sure why that was my responsibility.
You were probably the most sober.
It was, well, that could have been it. But it was definitely a learning experience. I was like, I just grown up hard, y'all. There was this like handout that we did where everybody had their little drawing with no eyes because Popo y Lupe's sign had those characters with no eyes. Popo y Lupe was a hair salon. And
basically
and then we all wrote
an important corner in Denton. So basically everybody that's ever been in Denton's driven past this corner.
Yeah, and everybody was always like, what's up with that sign? It was like iconic.
There was a charming, innocent, youthful way. We weren't trying to make any statement.
No.
Making fun of somebody.
No, it was really, we were just like, that sign's amazing. And it's like a Denton staple. And we were trying to say that we would like to also be like this iconic Denton thing, like that was our.
The only thing left of Good Bad is the post the sign is on.
Yeah. So anyways, like we each wrote a little blurb about like our artwork and what our experience in Good Bad was like. And I was reviewing all this stuff this morning before we talked, and I kind of was giggling at yours.
I have literally no earthly idea what
I'm going to read it. Are you
my
ready?
God.
Okay. The work I do is fabricated with the intent of destroying the worthless scumbag wastoid bullies that badgered me in high school with accusations of homosexuality. They could not stand any inkling of individuality or different desires. All they wanted was beer and muscle cars. With my time and energy, I want to create things significant to me! ! I am sick of apathetic fools who never, underlined, do anything. I love hardware stores, big dogs.
This is my little baby. This is my emotional support animal.
Still love big dogs.
Izzy.
Guns and off-roading, but I will never be a redneck white trash idiot who cuts squares on Friday night and poses with his hot car. I want to live.
Specific dig at my hometown, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell, like, we were all like in our early 20s and all of the high school stuff was fresh. So, I want to live, My life is not watching it on TV or in an arena. My arena for display is good, bad, where whatever I do, no matter how different, is engaged by someone and documented for posterity. So,
Golly.
yeah, golly is
So
right.
that's very reactionary. That isn't long. That is careful contemplation of years, but I was clearly still bitter from being.
I was laughing too, because I mean, like this is like 94 maybe. Yeah, December 9th, 1994 from 8 to 10 p.m. And clearly the worthless scumbag wastoid bullies that had badgered you in high school with accusations of homosexuality, I feel like then I got a few sentences later and it was like, I love hardware stores, big dogs, guns, and off-roading. And it felt a little bit like maybe demonstrating for those scumbag bullies your masculinity there. Although I'm sure you really did love those things, but that did.
But my next sentence says, but I want.
But you will never be a redneck white trash idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you can engage in know barbecuing, but that doesn't mean I'm a meathead.
Yeah. Mine is equally
ridiculous. By
ridiculous.
Archie Bunker's definition, I'm Polish, I'm a meathead.
Yeah. So how do you feel like that any of these themes still pertain to you as a person and as an artist these days?
Well,
we've already established you still love dogs.
The hot streak of no one's going to understand it, so I can do whatever I want anyway. An audience, my newest commission's for an audience of one, because it's one guy going over his couch. But we share a similar aesthetic and things. You know, obviously, clearly, I still appreciate skateboards, and these are a lot from Dallas and a person that is no longer with us, Jeff Phillips. You know, I get to amazing freedom to do what I want, and most people don't care as long as you keep up appearances amongst the neighbors. I know more people's dogs' names than the homeowners' names. So, those things bring me joy. My dogs bring me joy. I have a Toyota 4x4 and I still ride motorcycles and mountain bikes. So for a while in New York, it was difficult to do those things, but we used to do a Sunday ride with Dan Bailey and I, tearing ass through Queens down to Jacob Riis Airstrip by Breezy Point in the Rockaways. You can go as fast as you want on the old airstrip, but it takes hours of going through traffic to get to do that and dodging every imaginable thing. I just learned how to drive a motorcycle with a sidecar, Colorado, up and down a mountain. My 75-year-old friend who I bought the motorcycle from said, all right, go take it for a drive. If you come back with 3 wheels still on it, you're taking me up the mountain next. And I was like, Jesus, you trust me? And I was like, man, you came back, I'll go. And then it's just that confidence that he just sat calmly in the car, didn't even hold on. And I white knuckled it. And so I'm trying to learn something new, do new things. They're still in the same theme. I still have a tremendous amount of art supplies that I have moved more than once across the country. The shit I've collected is insane, but someday I'm going to make it into another piece of artwork. And
you just got to go ahead and do that, because as we were saying earlier, we could all be dead tomorrow. There's a giant super volcano or something.
Yeah. My friend's studio in Carbondale, she looked out the window. It's a panoramic view of the Sophist Twin Peak mountain range.
Yeah,
unbelievably beautiful, fresh air, half dozen deer right outside the window, all kinds of birds everywhere, peaceful. It takes an enormous amount of energy and time to create a peaceful space for yourself and to make space to make artwork.
Yeah.
Some people.
And also to just sometimes accept, like, you know what? I'm not going to be able to create a peaceful space for myself because of the situation and the environment. And so if I want to do this, I need to learn how to just do it. And which has been a huge lesson for me.
That's why I feel New York helped me.
Yeah.
Because every preconceived idea of making a nice little perfect studio, I drilled a hole through my couch making art in New York.
Yeah.
Because my studio was the size of a closet and I needed to cut something too big and it was winter and I wasn't going to do it outside.
So you've mentioned the thing that you're creating for your friend a couple times, and I haven't actually seen any of the stuff that you've created recently. Can you kind of describe what kind of stuff are you doing?
Well, I made something not for public consumption in the middle of moving.
Okay.
Because I was so stressed out, and it was literally like, use this art materials or throw them away because they're not going on a moving truck.
Mm-hmm.
I just whipped something out, and that was like amazingly freeing because, you know, it had semi time constraint, material constraint, you know, sitting on cardboard that I had.
Yeah.
But it's almost like you got to do that every once in a while, more often than not. I don't keep a sketchbook anymore, but I keep like ideas.
Yeah.
And if I think about something and then I think about it again, it'll stick around. But I'm not going to claim I'm producing a tremendous amount of artwork. But just, it's a huge thing for me to even be like, yeah, I'm getting to the point where like, I'm going to make something new from the materials that I have. I did wind up getting a master's degree, but not in art, from NYU, basically a creative management degree, which helped me a lot in working on the Dallas Good Bad show.
Yeah.
Because I understood many of the pitfalls and kind of knew how to say things and attempt to do you know, I always feel like I've always been vastly underestimated by other people, and in, say, academics, as if whatever I was doing I had put no thought into. Like, there was no reason why pornography was in my artwork. It was just to be pornography. And I was like, but this is about Times Square in New York, and it has men and women in it, what it's really like.
I'm covering up this one person here because I know they don't like to have their picture on social media and stuff, but is this your work in this picture? I remember it was like a bunch of porn.
Well, but John did that too.
Did that too.
We had a group. Okay. We had a group show where we both.
Yeah, I couldn't remember.
On the steam of relentless advertising. Yeah.
And
that's when the police came and they laughed at us.
Whoops.
Yeah, that was definitely part of it.
Yeah.
I still have that painting in the background, and that was shown in the UNT art gallery.
The tall blue snaggletooth.
Yes.
Digested.
Yeah, 100%.
And then here's this.
Oh yes, someone handcuffed themselves to that. That was at DiverseWorks in Houston.
Okay.
Gallery inside their building that people roller skated around. And there was a live music component to that event as well. So if you can preface it by, this is something we did, all of the other things just build on it. But when you just put one random and you try to explain, we made an art gallery inside of a warehouse that matched our art gallery, because that's how we knew how to use the space. But we also made roller skating around it and had music.
Jamie talked about that.
You're either losing people or they're getting more interested.
So it's an evolution. Like what you're working on now is an evolution and still sort of.
I really need to show you the main piece that I did in New York, which I showed more than once. It was inspired by the apartment building across the street from us and our dearly departed friend. Basically, the apartment building across the street from Good Bad was a major heroin distribution point. You know, people passed out on the stairwells and stuff. Ice cream trucks at 3 a.m. in February blaring their little jingle, selling ice cream. You know, so that was the environment that I was living and working in. You know, 9/11 really screwed me up. That whole year, basically, the calendar year of 9/11, if you end on 9/11, is like my best and worst year. Basically, nothing was as funny in New York after 9/11 to me.
I'm sure to a lot of people.
To watch it, I watched it on the corner of Grand Street. I watched the towers come down. Saw the first one right outside my bedroom window.
Yeah.
And so been learning about trauma and unprocessed trauma. Clearly, I had some bullying trauma, which is why I can't stand people that are bullies and don't abide by it. Got some aggressive fights in New York about that kind of stuff. If you need to get held back from fist fighting someone vandalizing your building, it's maybe time to move on from that life.
Yeah.
Which is what I did.
Right.
So, because it's money. I have to pay the dirty sidewalk fee.
It's money, and it's once again, it's the
time.
It's your time. It's your
disrespect.
Life.
But it's disrespect.
Is that how you want to live your days?
Yeah, I don't. I don't need a gasket. Because we were the invaders. We were the gentrifying invaders, even though we made noise until some new apartments were built nearby of gentrifiers, and they complained about the noise.
Yeah, art has such a complicated relationship with that whole process, because it's like, I mean, I'm gonna say it and you're just gonna be like, yeah, I know, I'm like preaching to the choir here. It's like an affordable place where you can live and do your thing and have the space to create and do your thing, because space is such a valuable and necessary resource as an artist, both in terms of creating and putting it out there. Mm-hmm. And it's just impossible to do that in most places. But then what happens is I don't think people like put enough emphasis on the part that comes after artists do that, because what happens is that like once there's like some cultural things going on, no matter how like under the radar they are, people start taking notice, and then developers eventually come in and take advantage and then price the artists out too, so
in Dallas right now.
Yeah. Everywhere.
And everywhere. But I'm just saying everything old is new again. Like, they're still fighting and complaining about Deep Ellum, but now there's the whole Bishop Arts area, and they're trying to rezone things.
Yeah.
And, big developers and stuff are always going to win. We couldn't have afforded to buy that piece of crap building if we pooled our resources. It needed more work to make it habitable and legal.
Yeah. I don't know what the
systems and various things. And so, I've been to dozens of places in New York that have shut down, underground clubs and all this kind of things.
Yeah.
Where people were, our friend Cormo's significant other, Angie with the Love Show, she was given a place in an old donut shop in the Port Authority.
Right.
To do a dance studio and to do performances.
Yeah.
Incredible. And that the fact that still exists and is still trying to do 1/100th% of the budget of something for the arts makes me happy.
Yeah.
That's still like to today, just people plugging that out. And I kind of aged out of fighting the New York street fight and was priced out. But I have a friend that still has a tattoo studio there, that still has art shows there. But his backyard is now a 20-story high rise. And I'm sure if he tries to have a band in his backyard for his anniversary show, which he's done for 10 years, somebody's going to complain. Nobody complained before because we were an anchor on the block that someone was there that always had their eye out. We were a safe place.
So as someone who has spent some years there, you spent your early formative years in Texas and Denton, and then 20s and beyond in Brooklyn, and then now you're in the DC area. I mean, there's a reason why there's so much of the arts like centralized in the big cities, and especially New York. It's just everything squashed together in there. Like there's just so much. But as someone who hasn't lived there, like I feel like I have this sort of need to advocate for the arts in other places and the value of the arts outside of those big main hubs, whether that's like finding value in regional art museums, which, you know, aren't going to have the same big name stuff, although they'll have like the greatest hits. I just was recently talking to someone, we termed it that, but like they have like weird little things that you wouldn't see in those other places that have just as much like interest, I feel like, especially when you use those as like a means to like get to know the flavor of a place, you know? But also every place has its little art scene, you know?
And some people are currently making it happen, like Dan Bailey in Birmingham with the Old Bailey Gallery.
Right.
Yeah.
So like that's
Fantastic.
what I want to ask you is like, as someone who's kind of dipped your toe in to various locations and gotten a feel for kind of like how it's different or the same, what's your perspective on that art in the big city hubs and then art in more regional, like regional in quotes, because I think that word is often used in a dismissive way.
Yeah.
Whereas it doesn't need to be.
Yeah, you can work in the Southwest and not be a Southwestern artist. It doesn't have to be Cocopelli 24/7.
Yeah. But even if you do, like, I feel like with
Still your
stuff,
way.
there's plenty of stuff that's like very Texas specific.
No,
but it's
Bruce Lee
not.
Webb is one thing that I love. Outsider art, or even allowing myself to make art that pleases me, that looks differently skilled, is what I should say. The Baltimore Museum of, I'm going to get the name wrong. It's been a long day. Has all kinds of amazing outsider art and bigger pieces installed permanently. That's incredible. It's like exactly what I want to see. That's exposing people that live in Baltimore that might not go into the MoMA, see that and be like, oh, I like this. Oh, you can do that. Oh, someone's enjoying this, or someone's making, you know, this giant, you know, amazing psychedelic piece of artwork that they were compelled to do that, felt the need to do it and made it. And big cities, you know, if you did a cross section of maybe kids at a club or kids at a show, half of them are probably suburban kids that taking the train to the big city and doing something dangerous and getting it back home and trying to think of that. And maybe they'll go to college somewhere, or maybe they'll start something in their garage, you know. Just feel like there's more people and more outposts around, you know. I have a friend that owns an alternative bookstore in Taylor, Texas now.
Yeah.
Would he have done that if he hadn't gone to Forbidden Books in Expo Park? So somebody had to do it first. I mean, I learned about Jason's shop because he was showing videos in the basement of Half Price Books.
Mm-hmm.
And then I found
those were so great.
That was like, this is what I want. This is my, this is, you know, so, and this is all pre-internet. I admire outside artists that they're just like, yeah, I just found this stuff and I felt the need to make some art out of it.
Yeah. I have a whole, like, I kind of have some issues with the language around that group of art or that segment of art within the totality of art, you know, like the fact that we call them like outsiders, to me just like says volumes about the narrowness of the art world. That it's like it's
100%.
only valid art if you have gone to art school and have done these things and can like have the CV and like check all the boxes, you know. Whereas like there's some boring, lame ass, like unoriginal schlock coming out of that world, you know, as much as there's just sort of like not really like getting there kind of stuff coming from people who are untrained in an academic stuff. And also the reverse is true. Like there's just like amazing, inspired, genius stuff coming from both segments, you know, of artists. And the fact that we feel like we need to like to distinguish between those two groups of people really like, I mean, I think it's just like a bigger symptom of like this Eurocentric patriarchal world that we live in, where everything has to be like according to, to the hierarchical approvals of like, did you go to this certain school, and did you have this certain professor, and did you do this thing and get the degree and have these shows, and like
Or
it's
attempting
all very
down
controlling. And
because they're too educated. Their parents were slightly well off, and they pretend to be a street artist. That's the newest thing.
yeah,
Graffiti, street art, painted sculptures, labubus, artists tattooing labubu.
Yeah.
I'm all into high and low, but when something becomes a marketable commodity with the huge popularity of kind of like street-ish art right now, the people that collect that are looked down upon by
yeah,
real art collectors.
there's another part too of like people that's like people emulating the aesthetic of street art, where people who have like this, they're the insiders coming from like the academic part of the arts, and they're emulating like a folk art, again a dismissive term, I think, aesthetic, basically,
That
where
was
they're
going to
sort
be
of like,
my next. Martin and I had a wonderful conversation. Craft and art. We both have very specific feelings about the Venn diagram of overlap of, just because you put 10,000 hours into X doesn't mean it's lesser because it's not an oil on a canvas. But, you're not, there's a weird show, and I'll have to look it up. This goofy looking motorcycle welder guy that goes to find glass blowers and find woodworkers and find metal workers making knives out of railroad spikes and things like that. And he's always asked them, like, do you consider yourself an artist or a craftsman? And they're like, I try every day to make my craft to the level of art. It's never going to be in the Guggenheim, but I put my version of art into this.
yeah,
I was like, that's good enough for me.
yeah, to me
You
it's
don't
like,
have to say, well, the sword making craft was perfected in the Medici period with the advances in the Enlightenment and metallurgy, and you're like, no.
yeah, I mean, I have a very high respect for craft, and especially when that is combined with the inspiration of like, creating artwork. But I also have a fine appreciation of art that looks like people can't draw or can't paint and don't have those skills, and they just haven't learned it, or maybe they're just not great at it, like, to me that's not necessarily the measure of it.
I don't know if it would have been great for me to have the internet in my 20s, because I was consuming
Yeah.
so much media and so much music already. If it was literally unlimited, I might have gotten to like an analysis paralysis thing of like,
I'm really happy to have been a part of like the bridge generation, where like the first part of my life was analog, and the second part has not been analog. Being young enough to be able to adopt the new technologies as they come, but still able to like have been formed before they even existed,
yeah. I talk about that a lot with friends. I literally held Screeching Weasel and Public Image Limited tapes in my hand.
Yeah.
That I can only get one. I got to mow some more lawns before I can come back next week and get the next one. 2 or 3 more tapes have come out. And so, that was too much choice for me, but I still found everything through the back of Maximum Rock and Roll magazine, and found my way to ska, which is hated and loved and hated and loved and goes in waves. This is my oldest joke in the world. I spent more time in college making music than I did art in art college. After college, I made more art than most people made in college, and most people stopped making art after college.
Yeah.
Just went and got a corporate job, and
it does interfere.
Art director or whatever. And yeah, I mean,
I
couldn't anymore.
I feel like I just completely broke up with art. You know, it wasn't even a matter of convenience because of the fact that I did have a corporate job and, you know, then later had children or whatever. But it just, I just feel like I was so fucking over it by the time I got out of art school. And then
We reach a
so
saturation.
much love for good, bad, and everybody in good, bad. But by the time I got out of it, it had gotten really bad for me. Like it was very unpleasant. And again, old shit, no need to like air any dirty laundry, like no hard feelings or judgment for me at this point in my life. But like it was like I needed to get the hell away from art. I didn't even go to an art opening or an art show for like 5 years after I graduated. You know, I went from total immersion to just like PTSD triggered, like I got to step away. And so I feel like by the time I came back to it, it was purely my choice, and it was like a draw, like a unquenchable hunger for it, you know?
But 100% your terms.
Yeah, but I'm so glad that I stepped away. I mean, I think there's real value in that, and I think that the time that I mean, what I said earlier about like job stuff being wasted time, like I don't feel like that my 25 years that I spent working in publishing was wasted. I loved that world. You know, I really only got out of it because the economy collapsed and the corporate bullshitness of it just became unstable, you know, like unsustainable economically. And then just like sharky because there was layoffs like every year or so. It just like it's informed what I do now rather than like I don't think of that as like wasted time or like that, oh, I could have been like making art and like getting my MFA and then like checking those boxes and like, you know, building community and building this body of work. Like, you know, like remember in art school when there was ever like a older woman who was in our classes, we would all call her the mom artist, which was just like, to me now, I'm just like, God damn it. Like it was so sexist and ageist, you know, but it's um, like I get it now. Like that there, you have these life experiences and then you get to a point where you're just like, I want to do something that I love and that feels good. And like even these, like I will spend probably like 30 hours editing this thing and I'm not going to get paid for that time. But I also have discovered I really like video editing, you know, like I wouldn't do it if I didn't. Like I would just put them up there unedited. But I actually really like it. So
someone made a comment about like Bandcamp or YouTube or something like that allows people to distribute their material, and that if you're just looking for something, you can find it, or you don't have to distribute it, and you can just share it.
Yeah.
I'd rather show art to two friends than try to post, you know, whatever this time sped up, you know, time lapse video of me like trying to paint something and how many times I run up and down the stairs to get a different tool. And
right.
Like I have no interest in that, but that's just something performative thing to get someone to look at them and then art. And it's just a whole different ball game. I feel like if you can just do something you enjoy for the audience that finds it or you choose to show it to, you know, I've seen Mike Kelly showed a piece in the Peekskill Art Museum, this tiny little thing by my house. And then I saw his lifetime retrospective at the Tate. And you're just like, that's the real experience.
Yeah.
You know? I'm sure that people in Peekskill that saw it were like, why are there stuffed animals and a blanket on the floor? This should go in a trash bag.
Right. I bet they were probably okay with it.
No one would be in there. No one would walk in there unless they knew that. That's the old joke about janitor giving away art, and then we threw everything in the dumpster after one night events. It was a long joke about that I didn't bother.
I think the thing about him though is just that like he had the integrity to listen to like what he wanted to do and do what he wanted to do, even if it existed outside of that little narrow bandwidth of like, you know, here's what the academia centric art world thinks you should do. And then it caught on. It like became influential and people got it and, you know, grew and whatever. Like to me, kind of, I feel like I started to say this earlier and I got sidetracked. Like when I was talking about people who are really in the thick of the art world and yet their style sort of feels like an imitation of folk art. It's like, and again, I'm like definitely not going to name names, but I can think of quite a few people who like are having quite a lot of success with that. And to me, I just am totally bored to tears with what they're creating. And that's fine, because there's plenty of people who have told me they think my work is totally boring. But for me, like, and I think it like very specifically comes from having both worked in a corporate world and had that art world training and then stepping away from it for so long and then coming back into it, is like, I do not care about someone's CV. I don't care where they've shown. I don't care how many followers they have. Like, I don't give a shit about any of that. I care about, when I look at their work, what is my response? And I also care about when people are like promoting other artists, are they talking about that and like how it makes, what is their response and what is their take on it and what is their like impression of it? Or are they going to give me an art history lesson and contextualize it, which, okay, a little bit of that, fine. And then also tell me what their CV is and blah, 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 and all the places they've shown. Like, to me, that is just like smacks of, did you hear that?
Take it off. Yeah.
Yeah, it was so to me that's just smacks of like, we can only promote and be interested in this art and these artists if other people have already given their approval of them, you know? And it's just like inauthentic, you know, like,
The popularity contest stuff and, you know,
yeah,
just, you know, by virtue of being around in LA or being around in New York or say being around in Miami or Chicago,
yeah,
no matter what you do, people are going to presuppose 50% of whatever you have to say that someone's already made 50% of their decision about you. Just from
yeah.
the city you live in and what they know about that and their already preconceived notions.
What you were
All
saying,
that.
digital archives and all of that, and like, yes, totally on board. I think all of that should happen. And but, or maybe it's not a but, it's a yes. And I think that I want there to be new stuff too, you know? And like, I don't want it to just be like, we all got, you know, old and like middle aged, and now we're just like, remember the good old days, like gather around the fire, children. We're gonna tell you about when we were hip and cool, you know? Like, I don't want to be like that. Like, I want those stories and everything to persist, but I'm not done living, you know, and
Yeah,
doing,
yeah, yeah,
like you
yeah.
said in your thing, like, I want to live and I want to do, like,
Wow, I
you
can't
know,
believe you
like,
on that.
I feel like when we all got together at John's thing, and that was like the first time so many people had been together at once, like, and it was such an emotionally charged thing. Like, I mean, I feel like I was just like manic through the whole thing. And like, there was periods where
Oh, I
I'm
was
just
out of my mind.
like I was almost blacking out, like sober, but just like, can't even remember, like, how did I get from there to here? You know, just like so many chemicals like pulsing through my body. But apart from like the grief and everything that we were feeling, although because it happened in the spring and he passed away in the summer, like we'd had some time to process, you know.
I'm glad I had a little bit of time.
I think that event would have been very different in the fall than in the spring. But I just felt like there was such a charge, and like with all of those people coming back together, it was like, it was a reminder, but that wasn't really the thing. I just think that there's something in those connections that we fuel each other, you know? And I feel like I have that in other connections and other areas of my life, but I've never really found that with like an artist community again. And part of that is probably because I stepped away and came back, and now coming back and everybody's younger than me, whatever. But like it just felt really good, and I just wanted, like, I wanted it to keep going in whatever form that it is going to go in, you know, like we were talking about, like it takes on its own life and you don't control it. You just kind of like,
Well,
I don't know.
My artist mentor, Jose, you know, was like, what are you doing with these? Why are you doing that? Like, you should be promoting yourself. And I was like, I'm doing things that are 10 times more amazing than what I could do by myself. And I can imagine those things and we can do them, like a Revolution Summer or some diverse works things, like, because I was also simultaneously, for part of it, in a band. It was just that idea of we can try together. We were doing bigger and more fun things and more wild things than any of us could do on their own. But I always tried to make my own artwork. You know, I never let that just completely fall by the wayside, which would be easy to do. There was always some of me in it. I never lost myself in a group. And I think he had worked at a studio where everything that came out of the studio was called Sketchpad. I did the cover of Heavy Metal Magazine this month. It was Sketchpad. I worked for Sketchpad. But he's like, I want to make my own artwork. I want to do my own style. It's like trapped in a realism that sold, because that sold for art buyers and art directors. Now they have an intern make it on Chat GPT for free. And so I watched the illustration industry collapse, and then the photography industry.
I saw that from the publishing side.
Copywriting industry collapse, and the publishing industry collapse, which Lee Johnson was part of. And I was watching all these pillars collapse till I eventually was out of a job.
Yeah.
You know, at least we got together as people and did real things that people saw.
Yeah.
And some people remember, and that was worth it to me. So.
Well.
Could I interest you in everything all of the time? A bit of everything all of the time. Apathy's a tragedy and boredom is a crime. Anything and everything all of the time. Could I interest you in everything all of the time? A little bit of everything all of the time. Apathy's a tragedy and boredom is a crime. Anything and everything and anything and everything and anything and everything and all of the time.
I'll talk to you soon.
About time for me to start dinner. Thanks for taking time.
Okay. All right. Bye.